Anywho, okay. Well, what I thought I'd do this morning, just to spark a little interest and kind of leading into some of the things that we've been talking about with different contesting and that, which has been kind of an interesting topic. Let me just bring up what I'd like to share with everyone here. See if I can do it here. Go here, go here, go here. And just to review a little bit with you all is in relation to call sign policy and special event prefixes. That if you are looking at setting up, because there was a lot of questions about call signs and what do I need to do to interact and figure it out and that. One of the things that if you ever need information is to look at the RIC. These are radio information circulars. Now this one is dated October 2005. We at RAC have been working on it and there's a brand new one coming out very shortly. There's not much changes to it, but we're updating some of the dates and the policies and some of that with it, but it hasn't been released. We're still waiting for ISED Canada to finally approve everything on it. But we at RAC wrote the policy for ISED to say, okay, yeah, this works with our considerations and that with it. So I just thought I'd quickly review and then open to any questions anybody's got as we go through it, or if you have concerns, because there's been a lot of talk about how do I get a two-letter call? What's going to happen in the future if I want to do this, and where does it stand now? Let's say I want to run a special event station. What are the parameters that I need to apply to, or what does a club? Or let's say we want to do a special event station, right, on the island here, or what Igor has to do when he applies for special call signs or the RAC call sign or that with it when things take place. So again, it needs to be updated to Innovation, Science and Economic Development. Industry Canada no longer is applicable. So these are some of the things that are changing. So we're going to talk about call sign assignments, general call sign prefixes, the suffixes, choosing a call sign. Say you're a new amateur, what do you do about that? Club stations, right? Automatic repeater systems, right? How do we go about with repeaters? Eligibility for consideration for a special sign, the definitions and issuance of a special call sign. So kind of, and some of the fees that are related to that. So and that with it. So that's what we thought we'd do this morning. So the radio information circular 9 deals with call sign policy and special event prefixes. And that RIC 9, if you hear amateurs talking, oh yeah, I checked an RIC 9. If you're not sure what that means, it's a bunch of the regulations and rules that amateurs follow in relation to this. And it deals with that. And they're decided at the International Telecommunication Union World Radio Communication Conference, right? So the next WRC is taking place in 2023. And we send delegates from Iraq to these conferences to find out what other countries are doing on various, not just call signs, but all kinds of issues related to amateur radio, so that we're all on the same page across the world with it. And of course, the purpose of this document is the circular outlines the policy and the procedures, right? Everybody needs P&P or policy and procedures as they relate to call signs and special event prefixes within the amateur radio service. And this goes right across Canada from coast to coast, right? If Ontario had special rules and Saskatchewan didn't, or the Yukon didn't, or whatever, it wouldn't be fair. So we have to have something that deals with everyone in Canada itself. So I'll just read this to you. It's kind of a little bit boring, but you'll get a conception on it here. The Canadian call sign is issued to anyone, including a foreign national, all right, who successfully writes the Canadian Basic Qualification Examination and obtains an amateur radio operator certificate. It used to be amateur radio license, but now we have certificates instead. Individuals who are citizens of another country and are not the holders of a Canadian amateur radio operator certificate may be authorized to operate with their own call sign with an appropriate Canadian call sign area designator. So what happened, and if you don't mind me using you as an example, Claude, when Claude wrote his examination in the US and Arizona, he was, is it KJ7?
NFO. KJ7
right?
NFO.
Okay, so when he came to Canada and contacted me from the Manitoulin Club and said, hey, you know, I'm kind of interested in joining the club and being, I said, not a problem. And he said, geez, I should go for my Canadian license, you know, being that I am Canadian and living in Canada. I said, well, that's fine, but you can use your American call sign in Canada because you are authorized to do that, and just put /VE3. So that would be the designator when they're talking about that, the call sign designator. In accordance with the Radio Communication Information Circular 3, now that's another circular that we'll do at another time down the road, and that's all the standards or information on the amateur radio service and the standards of that. When a reciprocal operating agreement exists between Canada and the home country, or the visitor is operating under the CEPT or the IARP permit. Okay, so what happens is there has to be that reciprocal agreement between the countries, and of course, you know, the simple one of Canada and the US definitely have that agreement and can operate. It's like if you go down to Florida for the winter but don't have a US call sign, I can use V3AJB/Whiskey 4 or something to that nature, right? And that's perfectly legal, and the ability to do that and that. So call signs are assigned to individuals for a lifetime. All right, so when you first write your thing, V3AJB, when I got my initial call sign, that was registered to me for the rest of my life. Okay, now you have abilities to get additional call signs. We'll get into that in a second. However, there are cases when call signs become available for reassignment. For instance, in the case of an amateur requesting a replacement call sign, the unwanted call sign would be returned to the block of available call signs at the time of exchange. So what happens is maybe, for instance, and I'll use an example that I may think of one day, if it ever happens. If it doesn't, that's fine. When I look for my 2-letter call sign, of course, 2-letter calls, I was lucky to get one at all, let alone getting one that I wanted in a vanity or whatever. And I've bribed Earl, V3AB, beyond notice to see if he'd change call signs, right? Because he's got V3AB, Alan Boyd, you know, which would be perfect. But I mean, that's his call sign, and that's what everybody knows Earl about in that regard, right? I got AJB, which is wonderful, and that's why I'm still using AJB instead of V3 Echo Mike, right? Because everybody's got to know me, and I'll never give up AJB. So, but maybe you look online, and all of a sudden your initials or a vanity call that you know, applies to you, you can give up your existing call if you don't want to pay for an additional call and replace it. That would be allotted to be able to do that. The
I would
unwanted,
love to get WV.
Yeah, well, there you go. If it came available, if you were willing to give up V3WVA and take on V3WV, then
That
could
dude
do
ain't
that.
dying for a while though. He's too young, I guess.
Al,
Yeah.
Al,
Yes, go ahead.
you said if you didn't want to pay for a second one,
Right.
I've never transferred any money in any way.
No, how many call signs do you have?
I have an old LLE and my brother's called SJ Strawberry Jam.
Okay, so you were able to get a family call sign.
Yes.
Okay, you don't have to pay for that.
That's right.
Thank you.
Okay, and that there are exceptions, and I'll get into those too. In the case of a deceased amateur,
Oh,
all right, here, okay,
sorry.
ISED Canada policy allows for a member of immediate family to apply for that call sign. Immediate family includes a father, a mother, a step-parent, a foster parent, a guardian, a brother, a sister, a spouse, a child, a grandchild, stepchild, and adopted members of the family. When you do that, there is no cost to transfer that to your name, and that's how you got your brother's call sign there, Robert. If no family member has applied for the call sign within 1 year of the death, but that death has to be advised to ISED Canada, it will be returned to the block of available call signs. And that with it. Yeah, go ahead, Bob. Yeah.
What happens when they don't get advised by anyone that, like my friend Earl? I don't know that his daughter ever realized that the government of Canada is supposed to be advised. What when it doesn't? I think there's a lot of calls sitting around that people have deceased.
Absolutely. And I'm going to read the next, to answer your question, is in the next sentence.
Sorry.
Oh, no. Yeah, I know you can't see the writing here. So it says all call signs become available for reassignment when the current year equals the certificate holder's birth date plus 125 years. So if nobody notifies ISED Canada, that call sign stays in the bank for 125 years after, say, your brother's death or birth date. I would say that way. And that's what we at RAC are now looking at, the new policy to change that, because there are thousands of call signs, 2-letter calls, that would be available to Ontario amateurs right now, but they are not, because they're locked in the system, because nobody from that family has notified that that person has passed away, whether it was a spouse, a son or a daughter, or an uncle or an aunt or whoever.
Could I interject for a second there, Al?
Yes, please, go ahead.
So if you know of a call sign of somebody who's been deceased for more than a year, all you have to do is send proof of their death,
Yes,
clipping from the paper, whatever, to Industry Canada, and they will then release the call sign. You can go and bid on it.
that's right. And that's kind of and that's how you got yours, and that's how I got mine too. You know, the 2-letter call with it. You know, I mean, it's really not fair that you have to bid for a call sign and stay up in the middle of the night and keep clicking on websites and hoping that, you know, you're going to take on that availability of doing that stuff. You know, it really is not fair, but that's exactly what has to happen today if you want to get a 2-letter call. So we're hoping that we can alleviate by releasing a lot of these call signs that are out there, and making them available for people. So going on to the next area under section 1.2, it's call sign prefixes. Okay, when a Canadian applicant is qualified to install or operate an amateur radio station, a call sign will be issued using a prefix based on where the applicant resides, right? So we all know about our prefixes across Canada using the Victor Echo and Victor Oscar and Victor Yankee. An amateur who subsequently changes his residence from one call sign, prefix area to another shall apply for a change of call sign with the prefix allocation for his new area of operation. So let's say I move to Saskatchewan, okay? I don't have to pay. I can say I'm now moving and I'm relinquishing V3 AJB and I need a V5 call sign. They will do that. Or I can keep my V3 and pay $60 and get a V5 call sign, but it doesn't cost you if you do move.
Don't forget to hand in your call sign license plate, because that creates one heck of a problem.
Absolutely, yes. If you're giving up your, if you have a call sign license plate like Ted, and Ted's going through that issue right now, right? In trying to get it renewed and trying to find out who the previous owner is. And one of the issues with that is that everybody keeps their own plates now, right? Unless they turn them in. All you have to do is tear off your plate and ownership portion, sign that over and give it, if you're selling a car or whatever, and you take the plates off that car and you keep that car, right?
So another interjection there, Al?
Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, so I was doing the same thing with the V3 TJ call sign that I got a little while back. Contacted the license bureau and everything else. And apparently it is actually illegal to maintain a amateur radio plate if you don't have the call sign.
Yes. Yeah. But people don't know that, right?
Exactly. And they don't turn them in. And,
no.
And while they're in another province,
the car and they're still driving the car, whatever the case may be.
Well, they're in another province, perhaps, and it's a provincial thing, right? Like,
well,
Ontario province doesn't have anything to do with BC.
Well, I contacted Transport Canada, the Ontario division, whatever it is, to get my plate, and I even knew who had the plate. So they actually wrote a letter to the widow and said, you really should be returning the plate, whatever the case may be. I didn't see the letter, but I did get the contact at the ministry, and they said that they've been given the information that the plate needs to be turned in. Whether they do or not is up to them, and there's no enforcement on it. So, they can still go back and renew the plate and everything else.
You actually have to turn it in. They can't just cancel it or whatever.
No, they actually have to physically turn it in.
They can cancel it. Because they've done that for me. If you look at your piece of paper when you get your plate, for example, at the bottom of it, it says that they can cancel your plate at any time, and they did do that for Sue. The fellow was out in BC, and we're communicating back and forth, but Ontario did cancel his plate, but they gave him an opportunity to return it. So, because they can cancel a plate at any time. And that's what they did with Sue's plate.
Well, you're lucky they did that, because for me, that was like a year and a half ago. And the guy says, I'll keep you posted if it gets returned. And then I've never heard from him again. So
the thing is, it's contingent on who you're dealing with at the Ontario service. Like you need to take it above the level, because if you walk in there and ask for an amateur radio plate, half of them don't have a clue.
No, this is actually the Toronto office that deals with
all the head guy.
I faxed in all this stuff and everything else. I got an email, says, yeah, I'm working on your case. It's all good. They contacted, like I said, did the whole 9 yards, but they dropped the ball and it's never gone anywhere.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
It's unfortunate. Yeah.
What they should be doing is what they do with veteran plates. Okay. You can't apply unless you prove you're a veteran. I know that for the amateur license plate, I had to prove that I had an amateur call sign.
Correct.
And if and when I die, nobody can have that poppy plate. Okay, the veteran plate. Even if my wife decides that, no, I want it, she can keep the plate as a souvenir, but she cannot keep the license on the vehicle. She has to replace it because she was not the veteran.
Right.
And if they did that with amateur license, it'd be too easy. If it's not the original person that owns the call sign, you can't renew the plate. You have to get a new plate. And I know that's the way it is for the veteran plates for Ontario.
And what
because
is on the it's been a while, like, is it just a regular series of numbers and letters?
you can
With
go
the
for the regular.
veteran,
You can go for the
veteran-
regular series. In my case,
Yep.
what I did when I got what makes it a veteran plate is I put a poppy on it.
yes, I realize that.
Okay. So in my case, I combined the poppy plate with my call sign.
Right.
So it's a double.
So you got a
personalized plate sort of thing.
double thing on it, right?
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, you know, a lot of, and I won't, you know, relate to plates too much, but one of the questions I got asked to me for quite a bit was, all right, I want to get a new set of plates, and they're not going with the blue ones now, because we've all found out in Ontario the blue ones weren't really a good change of choice because of visibility, especially at night. And from a police officer standpoint, they were horrible from what I'm hearing from some of my colleagues in the past. So anyway, they've stopped doing that, and there's been so many issued. But what eventually happens is your plate gets all scratched up, and it gets, you know, stone chips and all kinds of stuff over the. So let's say you want to renew your plates and get a new set of amateur plates, right? Well, you can do that, but people are saying, oh, well, then how the hell do I, you know, if I go in and I order a new set of plates, they'll want my plates off my car. Then what am I going to use to drive the car? No, you're ordering the plates. They've got to stamp those out at the head office in Kingston or something. So you
They mail
keep
it
your,
to you.
yeah, you keep your original plate on your car until you go to the post office. You get the big envelope with your 2 new plates on it. Then what you do is you can do one of 2 things. Go into the Service Ontario office and get your new sticker. Okay. And now this has changed. We don't have to pay for these stickers. And I don't know if they're going to do away with the stickers on the plates, or they're just don't have to pay for them anymore. You're still going to have to register your things. But anyway, that's still to be determined. But and then what happens is you get your new sticker, put them on your new plates, put your new plates on your car. Take your old plates off, but don't turn them into the MTO. You keep them, right? And you keep the plates because you don't have to turn them in, because this is registered to you. And the last, the plate when I turned in was September 92. I've had this plate, and it's kind of rough. And I've got V3 AJB plates on the car. So
That's why I was asking.
So
if
again,
actually
Al, it
had to be
depends.
turned in.
It depends on where you're dealing, because here in Sudbury, when I did that about 15 years ago, refresh my plates, they said you can't order new plates until you give us your old plates. We'll give you a temporary set of plates in the meantime, and then when your plates come in, you can just swap them out again. So it's a pile of crap.
It is a
Somebody
pile
didn't
of
know
crap.
what they were talking about.
Absolutely, because you know, and yeah, no, these are your property. As a matter of fact, I've got 2 brand new ones literally up on my wall behind me, and I've ordered these every 2 or 3 years, and so I've got more V3 AJB plates lying around in regards. But yeah, if somebody already has this, right, and you've taken over their call sign, it can be a nightmare to do that. The other thing is too that you want to change or look at, go to QRZ and see if somebody has registered QRZ and it turns up to be like I know with my EM plates, and you'll relate to this, TJ, Ken, people have registered on various websites and they've passed away, but nobody's had the fortitude to call QRZ and say, take over, take off EM and leave it blank, right?
Yeah,
so when
I've
I
updated as many places as I can find, but there's still lots out there. Exactly.
Oh, I know. And it's like with digital stuff, right? Registered on D-Star. Try and find out if you've got somebody registered on D-Star with the previous things, getting them removed off D-Star and putting your name to that. Same with DMR on Radio ID. Now they're their people are very good. You just send them a ticket and they'll get it all done up. But it's time consuming. There's no
So
doubt about it. So
is there a charge to get your plate replaced?
replaced, yes. I think there's a $15 or $20 fee to replace it, to get a new set punched
My
out. But
VA3 EMG, one of the two plates is quite faded, and
so you go
Yeah.
into a Ontario Service Office, not the Canada Service Office, the Ontario Service Ontario, and take your registration in and say, I have and your amateur certificate, and say, VA3 EMG is on my plates and they've become faded and scratched and the visibility isn't very good, and I'm afraid an officer is going to pull me over or whatever, because I know under law you have to have good visibility plates, right? You let the girl at the desk know that, right? And say, I want replacement plates because it's there. She will look it up and say, okay, amateur radio, we have to order those plates specially because I can't open my drawer here and pull out, CDB 465, right, is the next plate to give you. So they have to order VA3 EMG specifically. So they will take all your information, fill it out, take a look at your license and say, okay, that is you, this is you. Thank you very much, Mr. Grenier. We will mail you your new plates. That'll be $15. You pay the fee. And within 2 to 3 weeks, you go to your post office and there's your plates in the mail.
That's John, VE3BB. His plate, you can't, there's no blue left on it at all.
Yeah,
You can't
well,
read
you
it
need
at all.
to change that. You need to change that. Yeah, for sure.
Excuse me,
This-
Al, I have a question. Let's say
Sure.
that we veteran plates, they have a poppy on the plate. What can we do through RAC maybe to identify it is a ham plate by adding maybe a RAC call sign on one corner where they put the poppy, so
We
that
already
people
have
will
that.
know, okay, this is a ham plate, you know what I mean?
Right.
Is
Well,
that-
as Daryl was just telling you, we already have those. So you can go to Service Ontario and say, I want to get a RAC ham plate. It's like getting the maple leaf for the Toronto Maple Leafs on it, or the Blue Jays stamp, or a specialty identifier on the license plate. All right. So they're going to go, okay, Mr. Chauvin, no problem. We can give you the RAC plate with your call sign on it. That'll be $150, please.
Okay. Okay.
No, not for the RAC call sign. Not for the
No?
RAC logo. For when I went through it, you have the choice of getting the logo on for amateur radio. The person, if you want to class it as a semi-personal plate, it's a lot less expensive than all the others.
Yes, it is. The regular vanity plates with those things are up to $300.
Yeah.
Do you know how much it was that you got
I think
there?
it was like 35 or something. I could be
okay.
wrong on that.
All right. I may be,
Martin-
the last somebody told me was 150. So
Well, when Martin got his a few years
Martin,
ago,
yeah.
he ended up getting it with his call sign, but he got the RAC
The RAC
symbol on
logo.
it, and it cost him $135,
yeah,
$150. Yeah.
And what Daryl, when was did you just get that new plate, Daryl?
Just
or
last year.
Last year, and it was $35 with
Well,
the
I'm gonna search it here in a minute, but I got a
Okay.
comment to add to this as well. Is
Okay.
that some amateurs don't want to put their license plate on their car, but they want to have an amateur plate. Okay, so when I went through the process, what they do is when you sign up for it, you pay your fee to have the plate printed, okay, and they mail it to you. It's an unregistered plate, but it's registered to your name.
Mm-hmm.
So if you decide to never ever put it on your car, just don't go back and have them transfer it to your car, but it's still tied to your name. So you can put it on the wall and nobody can have that number as long as you have it. So if you ever, when you receive the plate, because it's not attached to a car, you have to go back in to the office, Okay, and with COVID, I had to make an appointment for that. But besides that, all they explained was when I come in, park my car, pop off the old plate so I get credit for my sticker, okay, because it was a fee thing at that time, and walk in with my old plates, my new plates. They take the old plates and they give me a refund on what's left, or they, in my case, they applied it to the new VA3 plate, okay? So if you decide not to put it on your car, they're fine with that. You want it just for your wall? They're good with that. And they called that, I think they're calling it not a vanity plate, but something else. It's one that's actually, it's just not attached to your car, but it can be when you go back into the office. Okay,
So
now
Rich-
if you get caught putting it on your car without registering it to your car, that's a different story.
Just 3D print one.
Yeah, if you want that
If
too.
you just put it on your wall, 3D print one, or get one made up like that. But also, I know at one point Rack sold plastic trim that you can attach around your
Yes.
outside of your plate, and
Yeah,
it
we
had
s-
Rack and Radio Amateur of Canada. I don't know if they still have those, but they did have those.
Mhm.
That would be
Yeah.
inexpensive.
We're looking at revitalizing our rack store for T-shirts, golf shirts, those type of license plate holders, and that type of stuff. So yes,
What are you showing
Yeah.
there, Rusty? What kind of a plate is that, Rusty? You're muted, Rusty.
oh, that's
Tim.
his.
It was
KG4.
my actual plate on my vehicle looked like this. Of course, this is just this is a small one. I just printed this out on my 3D printer.
Oh,
But yeah, so I've got the one that was actually on my vehicle. But somebody made that plate. It's made out of plastic. Somebody in Florida made those plates. They're not even made out of metal. It's plastic.
It's for your bicycle.
Yeah, this could be my bicycle. Yeah, yeah, that's about the size of it. But yeah, I had one of these on my vehicle in Cuba. So
All
When
right.
I-
Well, just
When,
Oh, sorry.
when I went to the office here in Garson, we have a plate license plate office here, and the Ontario thing there. Anyways, when I told them I wanted my license plate with my call sign, ham radio, they had no clue what I was
No.
talking about.
Yeah.
And so the head person that's in the office there, they were very polite and everything. And she says, well, let me go through my books here and we'll see if we can find something. And all of a sudden she came back about 5 minutes later and she says, oh yeah, here it is. We've never done one of those here at
Yeah.
this office and this and that. And so now everybody that works there knows about it now. So this
yeah,
is
you
what
have
happens.
to educate them, right?
Yeah.
It's like I did that with my officers when I was working. They had no idea what a VE3 or a Victor Alpha 3 plate was. They just thought it was just another thing, right? And I kept telling them,
Yeah.
if you see a VE3 or a Victor Alpha, give them a little special treatment, right? So, and that
do we
was,
Alan,
still get that now? Do we still get that now?
well,
No
you have to
warnings,
talk
no
to
Like
Mike.
you're retired?
That's out of my hands. You'll have to talk to Mike Patterson about that. But
They'll
he's
double
fully
your fine
aware of
now.
that. So yeah.
so
And he's a sergeant looking after a platoon. So
So my
I'm
my
sure
get out of
he's
jail
made it
free
aware.
card,
Yeah.
my get
yeah.
out of jail free card that I got from you is no longer valid then. So
Yeah. Oh no, don't do that. Oh, you were friends with Al Boyd? Oh, okay, come with me.
put you under the jail. Yeah.
Yeah.
Get
Sorry,
one
who
from
was-
Mike.
Sorry, somebody else was gonna
me,
make
Alan,
a comment.
I just
Yeah.
wanted to know the DMV. Which DMV do you deal with in Little Current or?
No, I go to the one in Espanola or Gorbey. There's not one
Espanola.
in Little Current. No,
Oh,
unfortunately,
okay. Because we have one
don't-
in Minnemoya.
Service Canada, you talking about? Or Service
no,
Ontario?
Service Ontario.
Service Ontario.
Service Ontario, yeah.
So we're okay. It's just if I want to get a vanity plate there for let's say for my call sign, I want to go somewhere where people have went through the process. Okay.
Well,
that
this is
understand.
why it's important that you talk, because if they've got a new employee there, they're going to say, oh no, I'm sorry, Mr. Chauvin, we don't do that. And you'll have to say, well, excuse me, here's my amateur radio certificate. You do produce amateur radio. Please look it up, or please have a supervisor.
I
Check.
educated them all in Espanola there, Claude. You're good to go if you go to I've dealt with 3 people there, and that's
Yeah.
all that works there, I think. Yeah.
Oh, that's good to know.
Claude,
See, we were
probably-
very lucky here on the island because Lorraine, B3 LMJ, Jim's wife, Lorraine McLean, who was our secretary treasurer for the club for many, many years, she worked at Service Ontario in Gore Bay. And
Okay.
she was fully aware of the policy. So if anybody walked in there, she said, yep, no problem. There you go. Take it away. So, yeah, you have to let people know because it's not something everybody's going to run in and do, right? And that's an option. Do you put your plate on your car or not? And that can lead to all other kinds. I mean, it's nice when you go to a ham fest and you walk through the parking lot and you say, oh, there's WVA, Rusty's here, or there's AJB, Al's here, or, you can recognize a lot of plates. And we've done that, Rusty, Pat, Ken, when we've gone to Dayton, right? You walk through the
Parking lot.
parking lots and there's everybody's plates there, right? So it's, or that, oh, there's that son of a bitch AJB. Where's my key? Okay, maybe go across his car. Who knows? But anyway, so he wouldn't let me check into his net or whatever, right? So yeah, there's the pros and cons, right?
Yeah.